Fam, how are you, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Blessings, fam. Do you know what? I all stole this from the youth, so that's how I know. Fruit shoot. Come on.
Might as well go straight in.
Yeah, we're in.
Firstly, honourable shout out to the youths then.
Oh, you are swagging today.
It's their birthday.
Stop do swagging casually as well.
Serious on a quick light one and that.
It's a proper, it's cold, man. You coming with a light swag like.
It's a little light one, boy.
Is that what was laying around in the yard?
Well, you know what I'm saying? Quick Philly, you know my thing.
Yeah.
But firstly, honourable shout out to the youths them. Birthday and that. Actually, first, bro, I'm so I appreciate you coming out of the house today. Even because this conversation, you were the only person I wanted to sit and have this conversation with. The only person in it. And when you told me it was a youth's birthday, I'm like, nah, bro, we didn't. You're like, nah. Well, don't worry, we'll talk, and then I'll go back to it and do that. You know what I mean? So, bro, I love you for that, bro. Serious.
Thank you, bro.
But yeah, honourable shout. How old are they now?
What they're for?
Fucking. Do you remember the episode when Poet came and they'd just been born? Remember that? Do you remember that? I do.
Well, I started coming to Halfcast around the time
that
just after they were born. You went out to LA. That's when I came and he wasn't here. Okay. So my first episode with Poet was when he came back.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's it.
So you only know.
I only know Father Poe.
Father Poe, yeah.
You see Poe before Father Poe's lit. But you see Poe before responsibility.
I can only imagine.
Was a madman.
Do you know what? Let me tell you this as well. Yeah, that we was in the other studio, I think. Yeah, turned up to the studio, whatever. Poet didn't come. I'm like, yo, Poe, what's going on? Then you hit me at the last minute. You're like, you know what? I don't even think I could come. My girl's pregnant with twins. I said what? Only Poet can hit me with news like that. What? I was so bamboozled, bro. What? Nah. And it actually happened.
It was mental.
It actually happened.
But we're there now.
Yeah, we're here,
Them
man.
four, they got big mouth and thing.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that in a bit. But yeah, do you know what? Today, I wanted to kind of be open about some stuff. And I think obviously I've alluded to some of it before. I wasn't in the space to discuss it. Once it all happened, I just wasn't there. But I am now. And sometimes we sit down, like you say to me, oh, Chuck's how are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm alright, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay. And I'm open in sometimes how I'm feeling and stuff like that. But the last 12 months and longer than that have been the most of the testing time of my whole life, bro. Honestly, my whole life. What was going on privately it's so I think even at times I was finding it difficult to, I was having a conversation with my brethren. I had a long conversation with you when I was driving to Liverpool. We had a wicked and those type of conversations that I have with you, have with Ben, some of my other friends and that are big helps, because the good thing about these friendships is that I'm not coming to you for answers. I'm just coming because I just want to just get it off, because it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? And so with that being said, I have said a lot of the time, I've talked about my stepdad and whatever. I even with Steve-O sort of went into the fact that there was a couple of things that were going on with my stepdad and he wasn't too well and whatnot. But he took his last breaths a couple of weeks ago, and in our arms, bro. Yeah. And I'm gonna get into all of that in a bit. But before he died and before he was even ill, this guy was so certified that any opportunity that I would be out loud here on my content or whatever it may be, and I would talk about him, or I'd mention something about him, because I think the older that I got, the more I started to realize how significant he was in my life, but also the dynamic that I had being rare. So what I mean by that is that, like, for me now, I realize that one of my biggest flexes is that I realize, like, oh, right, like, I got a great relationship with my dad, my biological dad. I got an amazing relationship with my mum, and I got a great relationship with my mum's husband, my stepdad. And on top of that, they all have a good relationship amongst each other. Yeah. And at first, like, you know, growing up and whatever in that dynamic, you don't really see, you may not necessarily see or feel the importance of it until reflection, until, you know, you start having conversations with some of your friends or whoever it may be, and you start thinking, "Rah, shit, like my dynamic is my dynamic is rare." But you know what? Like, this man came into my life here when I was like 9 years old, around that time. And Poet, when I tell you, bro, this human being, honestly, bro, from the bottom of my heart, bro, he smashed it to bits. Like, he smashed it, bro. He never, like, he never came into my life on the thing of, oh, I'm going to be your dad and I'm going to be this and I'm the man of the house and all of these type of things. It was like such a smooth, I mean, obviously my mum would have her perspective of like how she integrated him into my life, because it wasn't a thing of she's met him and I've met him straight away. You're a parent, and I know that for some parents and stuff like that, it's like, it's a tough decision to make, right? When you've got a child and you've met someone and you understand what I'm saying?
It's all mental.
But you know, like, he came in and absolutely smashed it, and like, I remember saying for quite a long time, rah, like, when I deep it, my mum's like the happiest person I know. She's like the happiest woman I know. Like, I used to always joke around with them and say like, rah, you two always find yourself in like these places where you're like the only black people in the village. Like, where are you? Like, where are you going? We're going for walks. Like, they made proper use of this country, and like, they'd go on holidays, but they would always go to different places within this country and just go for walks and whatnot. And like, I can't speak for everyone when I say this, but I know that there can become a time when you're in a relationship for a long period of time, or you're married or whatnot, and you find yourself just existing together. Like, you're just existing. You have a family. This is just kind of what you know, or whatever it is. Yeah, their thing was not like that. They didn't exist together. They actually was really just doing things. Like, they were always just doing things. They were always trying to, make time together to do X, Y, and Z. But I think it was very important for both of them to have their own lives too. Peter had his lives with his friends. You know what I mean? He'd go out. Peter's my mum's husband, my stepdad. He would go out like with his brethren on a Friday or Saturday or whatever. He's a bushman. Yeah. So like, when you walk down Shepherd's Bush High Road with him or whatnot, enough man are hailing him up. Yo, what? You know what I mean?
God.
And my mum had her own. And so like, sometimes they would integrate them together. Sometimes, Peter would be with his brethren and my mum would be there. Sometimes my mum would be with her friends and he'd be there. But other times they would have their own things, which like clearly worked for them. And like, I want to actually salute my dad as well, yeah? And one of the reasons why I want to salute my dad is because in reflection, with all of this, yeah, like, my dad never made it awkward. It was never, when I was at my dad's house, yeah, it was never awkward. It was never a situation where I'd go to my dad's house and I felt like I couldn't mention Peter. And it was never a situation where I was at my mum's house and I couldn't mention my dad. And this like, to emphasize how certified this man was, yeah, imagine like, in the time that he's passing, so much people that are like from my dad's side, which is the Lothian side, the amount of them that came to the house, that sent messages or whatever it may be, yeah, it was like, it said so much, because my mum is not family to them. They're not related family. I'm just the son of, you understand what I'm saying? But they treat her like family. And so because of that, he's come around and he's like, oh no, right, wait, hold on a minute. He's certified. On top of that, he's helped because he's an electrician, he'd helped a few of my cousins and whatnot to get in, to start their career as electricians and stuff like that. My dad used to always pull up to the yard, come check Peter and have a little one drink with him. If I'm going to my dad's house sometimes, whatever, Peter would say, yo, take one of them Guinness there, go take it to your dad's. Yeah, go and take it to your dad's or whatever. when Peter died, I went into the Lothian group, yeah, and I sent a long message to them. I got like my aunties, my cousins, and all of that, yeah. And I said to them, you know what, yeah, thank you. Like, I proper appreciate the fact that like you treated him like family. Like, you treated him like family. You didn't have to do that. And loads of them were like, nah, he was certified. We had to. He was family. He was like family. But yeah, like we did so much things together and whatnot, and like obviously they had their own lives, and like, you know, one of the things that inspired me to even do the podcast in the first place was, which I said on the podcast a few times before, if you go to my mum's house, yeah, on a Sunday, right? These are the things this is the aesthetics. You walk into the house, Roots FM's playing, yeah, Roots FM's playing or Vibe FM's playing, yeah. Come about 5:30, mum's cooked up some food, whatever it is now, and then them two will be sitting around the table. If I'm there, I'll be sitting around the table with them, and then let's say a Dennis Brown tune comes on. They'll be talking about what that song meant to them, what they was wearing at that time, what was happening politically at that time, what was happening culturally at that time. This was the environment that I was raised in. So naturally now, there's, you know, Red Bull culture clashes happened. I want to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? Boy Better Knows up there doing it. Something's happening with Skepta. I remember saying that here. Something's happening. I don't know what's going on, but something's happening. Like the energy, the way that people was embracing, like all of these things. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about where the origin of the sound system, how, like, what was actually happening there. Because at Red Bull Culture Clash, everyone had their own sound system. That's how it was back in the day. How do I know that? I learned that through them. I learned that through my dad also, but I learned that through them. And so I wanted to sit and have a conversation and talk about these type of things. Who better to do that with? Poe, yo, like, I want to do, what should we talk about? But I don't even know what. Let's just talk about whatever. Yeah, because I want to talk about, yeah, because I want to. But that was, all of that was part of the inspiration. It was part of like being able to discuss our culture, discuss where we come from, discuss what certain songs meant to us and all of the things that happen around it and whatever. And obviously the pod has like progressed into some things that are outside of that, but that's the core, that's the basis, and that core and basis came, a big part of that came through them. I lived with him for a long time, and you know, like, sometimes you can hear certain things about certain people, yeah, you can hear certain things about certain people, but when you live with someone, all they can be is themselves, bro. Mm-hmm. All they can be is themselves. There's only so much that they can pretend to be somebody else. The guy was so certified in his actions, not in what he said, but in what he did and how he did them. You know, sometimes he would say some stuff, but more time I'm watching his actions and how he's doing certain things. And like, to me, the actions are speaking way louder than the words. There was a conversation one time we was talking about stepdads and stuff like that. And I know that there's a lot of people that, you know, feel that they don't like the idea of that. And I'm like, you know what? I have an amazing relationship with my dad. You know, when you already know, when you ring me on Wednesday evening and you ask me what am I on, what do I say I'm going to do?
See my stepdad.
I'm going to my dad's.
You did say you actually did.
Right, I'm going to my dad's. Me and my dad, whatever. I got a great relationship with my dad. Yeah. That relationship cannot be broken. No one could come in there and break that relationship up at all. But what it was is, with him, because he'd been in my life for such a long period of time, and he put a ring on my mum's finger, and he made my mum the happiest woman that I knew, yeah. If we were walking down the street one day and we're in bush, and a man turns around to him quickly, we're just walking down the street quick or whatever, and a man says, yo, go on, boom. Yeah, I ain't seen you for a long time, boy. Was that your son? Yeah, that's my son. That's cool. That's fine. Do you know why? This ain't my mum's man. It's not just my mum's main squeeze. This is a man who's come into this is my mum's husband. This is a man who's come into the dynamic, yeah, and contributed massively, and also in his actions have played a role in fatherhood to me, because he's helped nurture me. He hasn't come and said to me, oh, I'm going to be your dad. It's certain things that he's done in the environment that I've lived in and for the period of time that he'd been in my life was like fatherhood. There was things that he did. There was certain things that he taught me, and there was certain actions that helped in regards to like relationships, for example. Like watching the way that their relationship is, and like watching the way that he speaks to my mum, and watching the way that they argue with each other, and watching the way that they reason with each other, and watching the way that he reasons with me, and watching the way that he is with me, and the advice that he gives me, and all of these type of things. It's like it's like fatherhood. Elements of that is like fatherhood. So could a man turn around and ask, is that your son? And he turns around and says, yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm definitely cool with that. Yeah. His actions spoke, and vice versa. 2019, I was away. I was touring with Jay Prince, and I was having an amazing year that year, bro. 2019 was so good for me in so many different dynamics. Yeah. Professionally, things was good. I started working with Vice and that as well, which was like a thing that I had inspired to do. Not so much working with Vice, but filming that type of content. Yeah.
Shout out Alex Hoffman.
Honorable shout out to Alex Hoffman. Personally, things was going really well. Had a really good situation or whatever. I was very happy, bro. I was so happy. Yeah. And October.
The trim was always sharp.
The trim was sharp. So I didn't have hair like this though. So it was a different type of thing. You get me? But I was in Germany, and I got a phone call saying that not to worry or anything like that, but Peter, something was happening with Peter. So I'm like, okay, what's that? So my mum had told me that basically the first thing that happened was, so when he was eating, every time he was eating, there was always a small little bit of food at the side of his mouth, just a tiny bit. Yeah. And so my mum had said to him one time, why do you keep having food? Like, you've always got food at the side of your mouth. Why is that? Then he had said, it's mad that you say that, because people at work say the same thing. I don't know what that is. It's weird. As the days went on, he started slurring his speech a bit. Yeah. And one day he woke up and he couldn't speak properly. He went to work and stuff. He's called my mum or whatnot. My mum's like, yo, you need to come back, because she's thinking he's having a stroke. My mum works in nursing and like that type of stuff. Yeah. Come home when you need to go to hospital, because maybe you might be having a stroke. Peter, in true Peter fashion, wants to finish the work. He wants to get the job done. Yeah. So he's got the job done. That irritated my mum to bits. Yeah. But anyway, he eventually got home, and they went to the hospital and stuff like that, and they was there for hours until the next day. And so they did a bunch of tests and whatnot, and they realized, no, he's not having a stroke, but there's something that's on the brain. So when they did some testing on the brain, they realized that he had a tumor on the brain. Yeah. And so they wanted to test the tumor. So my mum had told me that. That's thrown me off to bits. So we finished the tour. Honorable shout out to Jay Prince. Honorable shout out to Moz as well. I love them guys, man. They was very supportive at that time when that was going on. Bro, trust me when I tell you. See, when I landed back from that tour, yeah, I didn't even drop my bags home, bro. I jumped in a whip and drove straight to the hospital, because he was in the hospital. So I've got to the hospital now. He's sitting there. He's like, he's cool. He's like just normal, whatever. They'd given him some tablets to reduce the inflammation around the brain, which was affecting the speech. So we're just chatting, give a big hug and whatnot, yeah. And he's like, right, like it's weird because I feel fine. Like something is serious, but I feel fine. And I'm saying to him, you know what, you're gonna be cool, man. You know what I mean? Everything's gonna be alright. Like, we'll just, you know what I mean? You got the support. Everything will be cool. You know what I mean? Don't just try not to panic too much. And you know, we're always here. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we're in this together. Yeah. So yeah. So then, like in December, yeah, that was when they realized that like the tumor was a rare form of a tumor, and that like it's not curable, but they can tame it. Yeah. And then I remember they were talking about like the lifespan usually of that is like a year. I remember when they came home and my mum and Peter were both evidently very, very flat, bro. Very flat. I'm like, what's going on? And they've told me what it is. In my soul now, I'm devastated. But the way that in this moment, I'm saying to myself, you know what, yeah? Peter and my mum are very upset, yeah? I'm going to try to control this, and I'm going to try to lift the mood up a little bit. And I'm on a vibe of, listen, I hear all of that, yeah? This is what we're going to do. We're going to go through the processes and all of this type of stuff, yeah? But we're going to try to create memories. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try to create memories. Because I didn't want to be the third person in the house that was down. And I just wanted to lift up the spirit a little bit. When I did my documentaries that I was doing with Vice, we did a screening, yeah. Peter went for his surgery at that time when I had the screening, yeah. And so he had the screening, and he had his surgery, and he lost his speech. So he was, all of his words were jumbled up, so he couldn't form sentences properly. I've got to come to the screening where my mum and Peter would be there as well, and I'm doing that because it's a weird one. It's like an oxymoron, bro. It's like, this is professionally one of the like most important times, or one of my best times of my life, but also personally, this is a massive change in my life, like a massive change. As a parent, it's like something like this happening to a parent, yeah. So I've gone to see him every day. Could get to go and see him. I'll go and see him, whatever. And he was still in true Peter fashion, yeah. Still very upbeat. Couldn't formulate sentences and stuff like that too much, but he was still upbeat and still very like optimistic and whatnot. One day I've gone there to the hospital, and I think this is another time where like it started to affect me in a certain way. But I had a lot of things going on and whatnot. I think I was filming in Manchester, and I've come back from Manchester, and I've gone to see him at the hospital late, yeah. And we're just chatting. I'm talking to him, whatever. I took a picture of him, whatnot, and we're just like catching a vibe and thing. And we're walking to the elevator, and he's saying to me, he's basically trying to say to me, like, it's hard, like, it's a bit hard. And then he starts crying, yeah. And I remember, like, I thought, rah. There was one other time when I saw him cry, yeah, and it was at his wedding. And I won't go into that, but there was a reason for why. There was someone that wasn't at his wedding or whatever, and he was like really upset about it. So to see him like that, yeah, made me realize, like, rah, he's in like not physical but emotional pain, yeah. And so like I'm hugging him and I'm saying to him, yo, like, don't, it's gonna be all right or whatever. And then I left here, and I thought, right, like, like all the emotions, yeah, got the better of me at that time. So I rang my brethren, chatting to my brethren on the phone or whatnot. So he's come out of hospital, and he's like going through the radiotherapy and stuff like that. But bro, when I tell you, yeah, in amongst all of this time, bro, he's smashing it, bro. Like, he's gone through such a change. He's a working man, and he's smashing it. And he's still showing bare love, and bare people are showing him, and he's got loads of people that check for him. Because as I said to you before, he helped a lot of people start their career in electrics, and, that was his trade. And he's helped, family members and, bare my brethrens and that check for him, because some of them are in trade and whatever it was, yeah. So like, he's smashing it, but he can't go back to work. And then, so like COVID happens, and it was like a real interesting thing, because this is now, we're all going through COVID now, yeah. And it's a big change because there's a lockdown and you got to stay in the yard and whatever. And they were on a thing of, listen, you got to have, he was supposed to have chemotherapy, but they were saying, if you have chemo and you catch this COVID thing, you're definitely going to die. So we're not going to give you the COVID. Just isolate at home. Yeah. So I'm making sure that I'm at home now, helping out, whatever. So
Wait, say that again, because I think you actually missaid what you said. You said they're not going to give him COVID. You meant
they're not going to give
him chemo.
Chemo, sorry. Yeah, they're not going to give him chemo. Yeah, because if he catches COVID, he'll definitely die. Yeah, while he's on chemo. So anyway, now, couple times he's trying to make, because he's a handyman and he's trying to keep himself busy in that. He's on the vibe of I want to go. He wanted to go to like a shop to buy nails and things, and I'm trying to say to him, Pete, like, there's nothing open, you know. Then he's like, cool. Then like the next day, he's still on a vibe of like, he just wants to do some shit, yeah. So I literally had to go outside one day. I've gone outside to like in the Broadway near where I live, yeah, and I filmed it just to show him like what it looks like outside, yeah. And this is like the time when there's a proper coat. There's a real lockdown. You could only really go to the shops and whatever. And you know, people was being really extreme. So people was like walking out, they had a mask on, and it literally looked like a game. So when I showed it to him, he was like, rah, like that is like, he just thought it was so bad. So we catching some joke about that or whatnot. So now I'm on a vibe of, look, like, let's exercise together, let's do things, because you know what, yeah, even though I knew and I was very realistic about what was going to happen, at the same time I had the understanding that we got some time together. Like, this is a time, yeah, where like we could spend some time together, create some memories and do these type of things, yeah. And he was still physically able to do stuff. When restrictions had opened up or whatnot, I'd drive him to his mum's yard because he was so close with his mum. And every Monday, that's what he would usually do. He'd go and check his mum, yeah? So I'd go and drive him to his mum's, and then I'd go off and do my thing, or I'd just sit in my car, or I might even sit in the garden. And like, so I remember sometimes I'd sit in the garden and he'll come out and be like, I said, do you spend all the time that you want with your mum? I'm not doing nothing. It's a lockdown. The only thing that I'm doing is recording podcasts. I'm fine. I will sit in the garden until it's dark outside. It's cool. Just go and spend some time with your mum. Do what you do. So I was doing that with him, and then subtle changes started to happen. And like, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because, bro, like, our brains, yeah, are like, they're so interesting, so powerful, but so fragile. So fragile, bro. Subtle changes. We're sitting down to eat, whatnot, and then like, he would sometimes have the knife and fork in the wrong hand. Yeah, and then have the knife upside down. And he would know that something's off, but he couldn't necessarily work out what it is. Pete, man, change it. You change it and then it's all right. Yeah. And then there was like a little thing that he had on his right hand side or whatever. But then this started to progress when it comes to the food and all of this type of stuff. But you know what? It was very important for me and for everyone that was around. Don't make this a thing and don't make it awkward, because he's the one who's going through it. And it's, as much as it is a shock to us, it must be even more baffling to him, because he's the one who has to go through it. So we have to just support him in that. Yeah. So, you know, anytime that there was, or it was messy or whatever it was, it's cool. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Whatever. Then there was like the processing. We started to realize that there was like a problem with the processing of the brain. So when you would like, as you're walking, naturally without thinking about it, left, right, left, right, left, right. That's how we walk, innit? Yeah. For him, it would sometimes be left, left, left. But then he wouldn't go because he hasn't moved his right yet. So that was a thing. And then it was trying to work out the processes of how like you trigger that. And then I came up with this 1-2 thing. So I'd say to him, listen, this is 1, this is 2. Yeah. When we walk in, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then he would say it. And after he'd say it and he'd stop, then he's kind of got it. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's kind of in that thing. I'm recording podcasts all these times. I'm at home. I'm recording these podcasts and stuff, yeah. I had another situation that really threw me off, which is another personal thing, but I won't go into that. But I used to sit down with Peter sometimes and say to him, you know what? You're a G, you know. You're a G, bro. Like, not just because of this, just because of like just who you are. He'd just look at me and just laugh and smile or whatever, and like, he wasn't able to formulate words properly. And cut a very long story short, all of this started to really progress. Like he wasn't able to eat properly. You know what? We'll take away the knife and fork. You know what we're going to do? We're going to eat with our hands. That's what we're going to do. You eat with yours. I'm taking away my knife and fork. I'm eating the same as you. So you don't feel different. You understand what I'm saying? If there's a difficulty with the knife and fork thing, that's cool. That can go over there. I'll eat my pasta with my hands as well. We're taking it back to the motherland, yeah? How about that, right? So he was doing all of that, and then there's the walking and stuff like got like really bad and stuff, and then like behavior sort of changes were happening. And but I remember just before all of this was happening, my mum and Peter, they got married in the Cotswolds, yeah, in August, and they would always go up there every year. And so if they went up there this time to renew their vows, and my mum said to me, renew their vows? I think it's renew their vows. Yeah. So she's told me that they're going or whatever. It's a 2-hour drive. She was like, if you could come, it would be nice. I'm like, Mum, I can't make it. I said, Mum, I can't make it. So they've gone up there or whatnot, yeah. And one of my favourite videos in my phone, bro. One of my favourite videos in my phone. They've gone there the day before. On the day that they've got married, jumped in the whip. You understand what I'm saying? Threw some clothes on, whatnot. And I've driven up there without them not realising, yeah. Imagine, as I'm getting to this place.
With the trim?
I didn't even have a trim that day. I didn't have a trim that day.
Come on, man. You should have killed them, but carry on.
Yeah. So, like, as I'm getting to the church thing, I see them pulling out. So I've videoed it on my phone. I see them pulling out, but they ain't seen me, yeah. So I'm driving illegally, I know, with my phone, and I'm like, yo, like, they don't even realise that man's in the Cotswolds and that, about to hit the church or whatnot. So anyway, as we've pulled up now, Peter's seen me, and I've got this on the thing, yeah. And he's looked at me and he's like, oh, like, he's so happy, bro. Like, come out of the car, whatnot, hugged there. Couldn't believe it that I've come up there. I said, listen, I'm not missing that, because I knew there was something in my heart that knew that this time next year might not be a thing. So I'm going to be here. Yeah. So yeah, that was like a special moment and stuff like that. And then a little while after then, that's when like all the behavior things started to change, and then there was all of these things that were happening in the house. We needed to get, like, because him coming up and down the stairs became an issue, so we got a stair lift. Honorable shout out to the palliative care team, by the way. Yeah, these people absolutely, they were so good. Anything that we needed, they fitted in immediately. Yeah, immediately. We needed a stair lift, got the stair lift in. We needed things for the bath or whatever, because he wasn't able to stand in the bath and whatnot. I have to shout out to a guy called Mohammed, yeah, who was one of the carers, the first carer that came in. And there was a part of me, if I'm being honest, yeah, when I heard him come and I heard him at the door, I thought, he's a young brother, yeah. You know what, I'm not even really trying to meet him. Like, I let him do his thing, whatnot, I'll just leave it or whatnot, yeah. One day, I've had to open the door, right, because my mum was doing something or whatnot. I've opened the door, Mohammed's at the door, he's like, I watch your podcast.
Yes,
I laughing. I said, yeah, man, big up Mohammed. Like, obviously it's early morning. I'm not really trying to, I'm not really trying to do this right now. You know what I mean? And I'm not a morning man. Yeah, but cool, bro. I appreciate you coming in and helping out. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he was so good. He treated him like it was his dad, bro. Came in. Peter wasn't that receptive to begin with, but they came in. They were like really good help and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's key for the ending as well, yeah, for what I say the end, because Mohammed, he was there from pretty much the start of that as well, yeah. So yeah, all of these things started to change, and and then there was behavior things as well. Like, I remember one time he was trying to get him to bed and stuff, yeah, and like he was angry, but he wasn't angry though, because it wasn't him, and I knew it wasn't him. So I didn't take none of it personal, because I knew, okay, this is part of the process, this is part of the thing or whatever. I think a lot of people sometimes, when you're so used to seeing a loved one changing, like, you can take it a bit personal, because you think, what, like, why are you trying to shout at me? Like, I knew this is the episode, it's fine, and I know he loves me. He's showed me so much, like these little changes that are happening, yeah, I can't even explain the amount of love that this man has showed me. Like, it's I can't put it into words how much love this man showed me. So it's so full up over here. Yeah? Imagine like over here is like rammed to bits with love that I've been given. Yeah. Over here, he's going through a little something, and there's something that's a little bit off. You think that I'm gonna take that when there's this, and that's where and the core is this. It's fine, don't worry, man. It's a little bit of a fight, but you know what I mean. We get him to bed, but now I think we need to get carers in the nighttime that are gonna help. We had the recliner chair, we got him comfortable. You know what I mean. Everything he was at home and he was very comfortable. Yeah, but it was difficult at the time because, bro, like, my job involves me coming out and having conversations and like filming content and all of that. Yeah, I didn't want to leave my house sometimes, bro. Sometimes I didn't want to leave my bed. Sometimes I didn't want to leave my house. And a lot of the time I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to, we'd always make sure there was someone in the house, but I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be there. I want to, even though I might just be sitting there just doing my own little thing and he's doing his thing, whatever, I just wanted to just sit next to him, man. Do you get what I'm saying? And all that time, bro, when he got to the point where like he wasn't able to talk at all really or anything like that, I was still talking to him exactly the same. Pete, I'm just going to record the podcast. I'm back in a couple of hours, yeah? Love you. Pete, I'm just going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be back in a couple of hours. But these times he's getting to that point where he's not really that coherent. But you know what? He, as far as I know, his hearing is still okay. And sometimes, like, if I'm feeding him or whatever, or like, he might just go and reach my hand. He'd take my hand and he'd kiss my hand. Yeah, bro, like them things. Like all of that, bro. Like those are the things that gave me the powers to even be able to come out and say, you know what, I'm recording today. And Callum knows, like, you know, sometimes I'll pick Callum up and I'm in the car and I'm quiet, or I'm going through something. It's fine. When I get here, I'm present. When I'm here, I'm present. When we're sitting and having conversations, I'm present. This acts as therapy in some way for me, because I'm chatting to my brethren or people that I'm interested in talking to or whatever, and it's like I'm away from it for the moment, and then now I can go back and give good energy to my foundation, my home, and with him and whatnot. Yeah.
Can I ask you one question in regards to that? Is that the first time you've had to put yourself in a position where you're like, because you're really good at, I wouldn't know if you was going through any relationship problems. I wouldn't know anything. This is the first time I saw you was going through something. Is that the first time that something in your personal life has affected you just day to day that much?
It's the first time that I've gone through something, yeah, that has affected my, I don't want to say behavior, but evidently my mood and maybe my aura at that time. So prior to that, I could be going through some stuff and I'm addressing the things that I'm going through because I will talk to my brethren about them. And I'm lucky in the sense that my friendships don't have filters. Like I don't have to, if I ring my brethren and I'm raging, my brethren allow me to rage, but they will reason with me. If I ring them one day and I'm mad upset and I might even be tearful, I don't feel like, oh shit, fuck, you know, I don't feel like that. I'm able to, and so that is like, that's the big help. But this was the first time where it's like, it's affecting me all the way until I sit here. It's affecting me all the way until I'm in doing the JD thing there. It's affecting me all the way until I'm recording whatever it is whatever it is, yeah. Until I'm in that moment, I'm able to be present. Prior to that, I'm not present. Do you know what? This is how deep it was, bro. In the morning.
Asking how long that was happening for. When did you notice that you go to work and now you almost have to kind of be quiet now just so you've got enough energy to do the task? When did you notice that happening?
It started initially, see, like early in the year, yeah. I had a situation, a private situation that I had with someone, yeah. And like, once, I was quite selfish in that a little bit because there was something that we needed to address, but I was, because I was going through so much at the time, that was comfort, and I didn't want the comfort to go. So I was avoiding addressing it because I was thinking, rah, shit, like I've identified I'm a bit fragile, yeah. And if I let this go, then like I don't have the comfort, and like there was a part of me that felt like I needed that, and so I didn't want to address any of it really. And so once that left, yeah, over literally a little while after that, that's when it sort of started, and I think it really started to affect me. I would say late July, early August. That's when it really started to affect me.
Up until now,
all the way up till now. When we did the checkup with Akel, then like like
August.
That was August.
Yeah,
like I was going through it, bro. And you imagine, like, again, when I'm doing a checkup or whatever, I'm booking an apartment, I'm doing all that stuff. I might even just stay there. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, I'm away filming, but in my head, I don't want to be away from home because just in case something happens or he needs me or whatever. But also I need to be present, and I also need to structure a conversation. I need to structure a conversation or whatever in a way that I would like the conversation to go. So my head is, I'm going through all different types of stuff, bro. Like, and then all the way up to now, it got to the point where it was like the morning times, myth.
I remember you saying.
Myth.
So then maybe, sorry to keep
myth.
This is mad, this story. This is crazy, bro. I don't know how you've done this. Preparation wise for work then, you couldn't afford to come here without prepping, because sometimes you can just freestyle the
facts.
You couldn't afford to prep. So from, let me get my head around this. This is mad to me. From July until now, you've had to overwork in a time that you have less energy to do it.
Yeah, in my head.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I've had to do that.
Christ, geezer.
Morning time, myth. As the day goes on, I'm okay. I get, you know what I mean? I'm defrosted now. I've defrosted, and I'm sort of.
Also, you're not a morning person anyway.
Nah,
so
I'm shit in the morning.
But no,
so
it was bad. Chuckie was telling me by 4 p.m. he's ready.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
No.
See, on a Saturday, it's half time. United are losing. He's on ready vegs.
On Saturday, it's half time. But when it gets to 10 p.m. now, and let's just say like let's lead this up from like the last, let's say like the last 4 months, right? Because these are the times now where like the last 3 months, that was when we had evening carers, and then they would come put him to bed by about 8:30. We had a hospital bed downstairs and stuff, yeah. Like now I'm like, okay, cool, 10 p.m. I'm actually all right. Like I'll watch some things, whatever, chat to my whoever. But then I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what the morning's like. I know how I feel in the morning. I'm good now, but I know how I feel in the morning. So now I don't want to go sleep. Brother, I don't want to go sleep because I'm thinking
the whole day trying to get out of that mood. And finally when you get in it, you haven't even got enough time to spend it. Because guess what? You're going back to sleep.
You understand what I'm saying? To go through that again.
Knowing that you've got work the next day and you have to do extra prep in this mood.
All of that.
Now I'm getting it. This is mad. Sorry, carry on.
All of that. So like the December hit, and I was speaking to my mum on the phone, and I said to her, you know what, like, we was just talking about everything. We was talking about 2021 and whatnot. And I said to her, look, like, obviously we know that Peter's not going to be here this time next year. And I said, but you know what, like, 2021 can be a bit of a tough year, but this is the way that we could try to look at it, yeah? If Peter had gone into the hospital, got diagnosed, and then died the next week, yeah, that would have been so tragic, because that shit happens. Like, that is, like, people go to hospital, get checked for something, and then literally they just die, yeah? From a selfish point of view, that didn't happen with Peter, so we was able to, even though he was unwell, and he was evidently unwell, we was able to do a couple of things. Make him feel comfortable, create memories, was able to do stuff. I got so much like videos of him, not fine, but in his good moments. Yeah. We was able to create stuff, bro. We was able to create stuff. And I said, you know, that's a beautiful thing. And I said, now all it is about trying to make him feel as comfortable as possible. But also what we have to understand as well is that my great grandmother at the time, she was 102. She's recently just turned 103. Yeah. I said, she could pass away too. Let's throw this in the mix as well, yeah. While this is going on, we're taking care of my great grandmother and my granddad, yeah. So the shopping needs to be done, and there's like a lot of juggling going on. Christmas Day, my mum's left to go to see my great grandmother. I'm at home with Peter. Then my mum leaves my great grandmother's to go to her dad's, my granddad's. Then when she gets home, I go to see my great grandmother. Then I go to see granddad. Then I come home. Then we spend like just that last the evening together. Peter's not able to talk at this point. So I'm saying to her, my great grandmother's like, you know, like she could die at some point quite soon. I said, my granddad's kind of getting there as well. And so obviously Peter's there. And I said that we can't control our emotions when it happens, but in some way we can be prepared for something that could be a strong reality, and also the fact that it could happen within a quick space of time, yeah, which she understood, and we had a really good conversation about that. January hit, yeah. Peter's mum had died. She went to the hospital, something was going on, whatever. She's come out of hospital, then she's gone back in, and then we've got a phone call saying that, like, if you want to see her, it would be good to see her now. But Peter wasn't coherent. Imagine, he's super close with his mum, and he's at a stage where he's like, the only thing that Peter was doing still at this time is if you were playing reggae music, he was singing it. So if you play like a Beres Hammond or something like that, he would sit in the chair when he would sing it, yeah. But he wasn't. His understanding of things wasn't that good. And he just wasn't really that coherent. So we've got his mum on the FaceTime, and he's looking at this was like 1 a.m, and he's looking, but he's not really understanding like what's happening. Yeah. So anyway, morning comes and she hadn't actually passed away. But then she'd passed away that next day, but in the evening. And then so we sat down with him and explained to him like, your mum's died and whatever. But he just didn't really it was either he didn't understand it, or the processing, he got it, he could hear us, but the processing he wasn't able to express the emotion. Does that make sense? So you know when you're given something and you take it in and you understand it, but you're not able to externally show your emotions. Mm-hmm. That's what it could have been, yeah. So then there was all of that. February, my granddad died, which is my mum's dad. And I remember like just before this happened, my uncle had said that my granddad wasn't that responsive or whatever it was. Yeah. Like, the doctor went down there and said, yep, he's at his last stages. So whoever needs to see him, there's no point taking him to the hospital. Whoever needs to see him can go and see him, just so he's comfortable at home. So the day before he died, I went to the house, and I could see him in the chair, and he was like quite peaceful, but you could see that he was going, yeah. So I told him, I said, granddad, you was a funny one still, but I loved you, and I'm sure if you go back in the archives, I tell a story about when I started to change my perception of success, because I looked at my granddad. I was always going to my granddad's house, and I was always dropping the shopping off. And one day, Poet, I've pulled up outside the yard, yeah? I pulled up outside the yard to drop the shopping off. This was a Friday night. And I'm looking at this yard, and I'm saying, this is actually a nice yard, Like, I never even thought about this, but him and my nan lived in a nice yard. Yeah?
Take it for granted.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been there.
I'm pulled up outside the yard. I'm like, this is a nice yard, They live in a... But then I'm saying to myself, like, I don't know much about my granddad and how this happened. So I dropped the shopping off one day, Poet, yeah? And like, my granddad's not a man of words. He don't speak like... He's just not a man of speak.
Man, yeah. They're not on that.
But I've dropped the shop... And what I'd always do is run upstairs. Yo, granddad, I got the shopping, yeah? I'm going to put it in the fridge. All right. Go put the shopping in the fridge. Run back up the stairs. Yo, granddad, you all right? he'll look at me for a little while. He might smile and he'll say, all right. Then I say, all right, cool. I'll be back in a couple of days or whatnot. Gone. This day I said to myself, you know what? I sat outside and I said, I'm going to interview him without him realizing that I'm interviewing him.
You never want to stop working, do you?
I know. I said, Granddad. He didn't say nothing. I said, how did you get here? And he paused there and he looked at me. He looked at me, which it felt like forever. And then he broke out in telling me this story about, he was in Jamaica. He was telling me about his life in Jamaica. Then he told me there was 2 boats. Kingston, yeah? There's 2 boats. One going to New York, one going to London. They both need carpenters. My granddad's a carpenter. He said, you know what? I chose the London one.
You could have been in New York.
I could have been in New York.
With Jay-Z?
With them, man. What?
And you chose to do the podcast with me, you fool.
This is what I'm saying. I could have been with Memphis Bleak and them, man. You understand what I'm saying?
It wasn't your choice.
So anyway, he chose that one or whatever. 3 weeks it took for him to get there. Saved up some money and said, you know what? My wife ain't taking the boat. She's getting the plane. So he saved up some peas, whatever, and then was able to kind of get her to get on the plane, yeah? My granddad's going through hella racism, bro. They're punching him up, hitting him around the head with things, spitting at him, all of that, bro. Like, all of the mad things that you could think of, he went through to the point of breakdown. And so that was all a conversation, which made me realize, you know what? You're successful. You were successful. You left Jamaica to come here, yeah, to build something. You flew your wife over and you was able to get a house in a time where everything was all against you and they didn't want you here.
They still don't, but
yeah, exactly. You understand what I'm saying?
They say success is the success doesn't exist in the ideal. Success exists in the objective.
Right. That's a good one still. So so that happened, obviously, you know, my mum was going through that type of stuff or whatnot. And then the stuff with Peter started to really, really progress. So, you know, you wouldn't hear his voice at all. His eyes was closed a lot of the time. And yeah, there was literally not much coming from him, but still, you know what? He was still eating and he was still drinking and I was still talking to him and, you know.
What month are we in by this point?
This is February now, coming into March. Yeah.
So so February coming into March off the back of everything you've dealt
with.
All
of this, yeah.
You're there now.
Yeah, we're here now.
And
we're close. We're close to the end, yeah. So this is going on, like he's not talking, he's not really saying too much, but he's still eating, whatnot, and then, like, you know, there was like certain other things that sort of stopped and whatnot. And bro, like, trust me when I tell you, this was another thing, yeah. The amount of times where we were waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, because there was something was going on. So enough times, 5 o'clock in the morning, we got to get him up. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We've got a thing, whatever. This was happening. And that was, I can't lie, that was hard. But I never wanted any type of atmosphere to feel like it's any type of a burden. Even though he might not be coherent, there's not going to be no like, there's none of that. I'm doing it with what I'm doing with him. I'm showing him, yeah, like, this is an honor doing this. This is an honor looking after you. You've looked after me all of this time. This is an honor. So we're doing this 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, hella times. Waking up, still got to record, still got to do all of this stuff. It was hard, but then, yeah, like, I was speaking to him, like, just talking to him and stuff, and just like still reminding him about a lot of things. But then what ended up happening was, it was looking like he wasn't able to see now. And when my mum mentioned that, when she sort of mentioned, can he see? I was looking, I was like, I don't know if he can. And that's when I realized, you know what, I think, I didn't say it, but in my heart, I was like, you know what, I think next week it might happen. But I didn't say nothing. The Harry and Meghan thing was on TV. And I remember I sat next to the hospital. Remember I said there's a hospital bed downstairs now, yeah? So I'm sitting next to the hospital bed. The hospital bed's behind me. My mum's there. We're watching the Harry and Meghan thing, but Peter's like sort of just sleeping. And then we talked about it. I went to sleep, and I was getting ready for a meeting, and my mum would go out for a walk every morning while all of this was going on, just to sort of clear her head. She calls me, yeah, and I knew straight away when she called me, yeah, something was happening, because usually she'll come, knock, and tell me what's going on. I've ran downstairs, yeah. She goes to me, I think he's taking his last breaths. So she's sitting next to him on the bed, and he's like taking deep breaths. Like he's taking deep breaths, yeah, but not struggling. He's not struggling. He's just taking deep breaths, and he's got his eyes open, yeah. Bro, I put my arm round him. I had my arm around him, and I had my arm like holding his head sort of thing, and I was hugging him, and my mum was hugging him, yeah, and my mum was speaking to him, yeah, and we were just telling him like how much we loved him and stuff like that, yeah. And then, bro, literally, like, it just stopped. And then, like, we were still talking to him, yeah. And then, yeah, like, it stopped and that. And then I kind of got up, yeah, and then we was just staring, and was like, is that it? And then I put my hand on his heart, yeah, and there was nothing there, yeah. And then, like, obviously we just had a moment and that, yeah. But you know what, like, honestly, poet, yeah, you know, when I pushed the sadness to the side, yeah, when I pushed the sadness to the side, and then how that felt, yeah, you know, like, that was actually one of the most special things that have ever happened. Like, it was that moment, yeah, that moment was so, like, it was so special, bro. Like, 9:30 in the morning, this could have happened at any other time, and my mum might not have been there, or I might have been upstairs, or I might have been out, or whatever. This happened as the day was about to start, yeah, and we'd been there as a family for years, together for years, yeah, and we was together as a family while he was going through this. It was together as a family while we was going through this, yeah, and it's like, it felt as though it was almost like it's almost like he waited for us, bro. And to have that, to hold him, and to have that at that time when you push the sadness to the side, bro, it felt so special, man. It felt like, it's hard to explain. I've been trying to figure out a way to articulate it, but there's something in when someone takes their last breath like that. There's something, it's so deep. It's like, I'm not a parent, but you know, you bring a life into the world, and a baby comes out and it cries for the first time and stuff, and it's like, rah, this is a whole life. And in that moment you realize that, rah, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. You get that moment again, even in that, you're like, rah, like, I'm holding him and he's taking these breaths and that, and then it stops, and then it's like, rah, it's like the soul leaves, and it's like, bruv. And then imagine, so one of the reasons why I said it was key to mention Muhammad, yeah, is because the carers are due to come. So the carers came like 20 minutes after that's happened, and it's Muhammad, yeah. So we've told Muhammad what's happened or whatnot, and that was special because he was there, and he was there when Peter was able to, you know, is that what I'm saying? So he came and he got to say goodbye, yeah. And I told him, I said, bro, like, I'm so thankful for you and your guys that came and helped and treated him the way that you did and whatever. And they were like, you know, we had a really good conversation, and then they left, and then the doctor came, or the nurse came. The nurse was supposed to come anyway, and so like the nurse came like 10 minutes afterwards, and then so the nurse came, and that was the nurse that had been there from the beginning too. So it was mad. It was like all of these, the people that had actually come at that moment, they were supposed to come anyway, but they were all the people that had been there from almost the beginning of the stages of what was happening. So then they got to say goodbye. And after that, me and my mum, we just sat there. The curtains were closed, and we talked for like 2 hours, bro. Just reminiscing, and obviously crying and reminiscing some more, and, you know, talking about a lot of things. And just like, you know, I could not keep saying, like, this man smashed it, bro. He smashed it, bro. He smashed it. He came in and he smashed it. He smashed it. Like, it couldn't, he literally could. And I know that some people say, like, you know, when someone dies or whatever, people always have nice things to say or whatnot, yeah. Trust me when I tell you, yeah, you have to exaggerate this in your mind for you to fully understand. No one can't tell me a bad thing about this man because I lived with him and I knew him, and the people that are around him, they they had such a connection with him, yeah. And the love that he brought them was like, bro. And to the fact that, like, my dad and all my other family, do you know how many of them came to the house? Enough of them have come to the house. They loved him. They loved this guy. How can you have a man who is the partner of my mum and my family on the other side, the Lovians, who are not related to my mum, feel this deep?
It is testament to the people that you all are, though. There is something really special about you, Chuckie. Like on a grown thing, like when you put into perspective what you've had to deal with, and I'm hearing that story. There's no dress rehearsal for that right now. Like, I mean, people can tell you whatever they want, but like you had to go through that. It seems like a little bit alone to a certain extent because you're a younger man, and then you can't even go through it like with you as your first thought. Like, you're going through this and your first thought is never you. And the only time you have to yourself is to build up to actually attack your day, which you start at half time on a Saturday. But I think that level of pressure, and for you to continuously do Halfcast podcast. But let's not stop there. Let's talk about the stuff that you've done with Vice. Let's not stop there. There's the +44 stuff. Let's not stop there. You're doing the checkup. Like, the amount of work you're having to do, where, again, my bro, you are not your first thought. You're interviewing someone. It's always about somebody else. For you to be the rounded individual you are, Peter being a great man makes sense. Your mum being a great woman makes so much sense. Your family on the side of your dads being the people they are. Cause that moment where you shared him leaving physical form, I'll be mad real with you, bro. Like, I have a very, very different perception of death, and I understand, along with tax, it's the only thing that's going to happen. I'll be mad real with you. If there's any way I want to die, if there's any way I want to go, that sounds like a pretty good way, because that is, to me, a complete reflection of your life, the people that you invested so much time and love into. And again, it even lets you know, but Pete is a special man. It lets you know that all them people that neglect their kids, here's an example why you shouldn't neglect kids, because someone was willing to sacrifice so much of their own time for a man that isn't even their dad. So when people are investing time into children and they think they're not getting a return, this story here, for me anyway, is a prime example of you invest into your children. Not only do they become a well-rounded individual like Chuckie with a fantastic career, just a great person, but guess what? When you're at the point where you need help, that's the first man that's there for you without you even having to call him. Chucks, mate, I'll tell you what, mate, shake your hand, geezer. Fucking great man. You're a fucking great man. Great man, bro. Fucking hell, geezer.
Yeah, so like, I think like, because of that, yeah. So obviously that's happened and that, and yeah, well, obviously we spent some time and whatnot, and then the people came to take him, and then we had some family and that came over. A couple of my brethren come over and that, and I remember I had a recording that day, and I rang CALUM, yeah, and I said, I know we got to record today. I don't know. I said we still might record, but we might not. We'll see. As the day went on, I think because that moment was so special, yeah, because it was such a special moment, it's like, had it have been tragic, if it was a thing that was tragic, coming out and doing that, it just would never have happened. It couldn't have. Because it was such a special moment, and like, you know what I mean, we're showing these emotions and all of that, yeah. But I'm chatting to my family and I'm chatting to my brethren and we're discussing it and we're having like some deep conversations about it and death and all of these things or whatnot, yeah. Do you know what? It's like in some mad way, it energized me. When it got to like 6 p.m, I thought, you know what? My cousin Elliot, yeah, I love Elliot, man. That's like, he's my cousin, but he's my brother. Like, he's my brother. We been around each other since birth. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to come with you. I'm coming to the pod with you, man. Let's go. So we came. I never said nothing. And this was the Harry and Meghan episode. Peter died that day. That day when we came in and we had that conversation about Harry and Meghan, stuff like that. He died that morning. And we recorded what? We recorded at like 9:30 p.m. 10 p.m. Late. Yeah, so like, but at that point I was able, because in my mind I was like, you know what, this is a time now where I can sort of get away from it for a little while. We was in the thick of the emotions that day. My cousin's come with me as support. He fucks with you, by the way. He proper fucks with you. Like, enough times like he'll ring me and he'll say like he'll say things like, yeah, like, but what he's saying is true though, because like when you deep it, yeah. And even when we was on the way home, like we was like reflecting on the episode and that, and he was like, yeah, bro, because look, even what he's saying is true though, because when you like, and so we do that, and like, so he probably fucks with you still. But so that was like, I needed that little support at the same time too, of him coming and just being there and whatnot, and like me being able to just try to be present in that moment and deliver the conversation that we did. But you know what, like, I'll just wrap this part of the conversation up by saying that, like, I gave him his flowers when he was alive, and I had to give him his flowers even now, because he was an absolute certified G. He was, he played his position so well. And I was watching something the other day with on I Am Athlete, and it was Dwayne Wade, who's a basketball player. He was the guest, yeah, and he was talking about his relationship with I can't remember her name. She's a famous actress. I don't know if you're allowed to say actress anymore, but whatever it is, yeah. So,
are you not allowed?
What? Yeah, I think you just have to say actor.
No. I'm sticking with actress.
All right, yeah. Well, this is a conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. Carry on.
So anyway, but I think she's got a child from before. He's got a child from before, whatever. And they were talking about the dynamics of growing their family or whatever, and not trying to replace anyone. But he mentioned something that I thought was really suited to me anyway. Maybe not to anyone else, but he talked about the bonus dad. And I was like, that's exactly how it felt. I got a great relationship with my dad. It's solid and certified and will be forever. Yeah, it will be forever. Me and my dad get on very well. Chelsea, he's a Chelsea supporter. Yeah,
I don't know how you
and
get
proud.
What?
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
I'm gonna call him Marcel Desailly now.
Yeah. And so and their relationship, my dad and Peter's relationship was very good. Like, as I said, my dad would roll up to the yard, vice versa, and he did while Peter wasn't well either. But Peter had been in my life since I was like 9 years old, and just by default, over a period of time, he played a father figure role in the house by his actions and by things that he did, not by saying, this is what I'm going to do and this is who I am over you. It was never that. It was just the relationship that he had with my mum, and then the relationship that he had built with me was as such, and that's how it felt for me. So when I heard that term, I was like, if that was ever a term and that could ever be a thing, he was the sickest at it. And an honorable shout out to anyone that meets somebody who has kids, and finds themselves in that home, in that dynamic where that person is growing their children, and they go and they play their position without trying to be anyone. They do this from, the core love, the what's right. And
is he a man of God?
Not really. He was not
was
really.
Your mum a woman?
My mum's like a spiritual person. Like, my mum's very much, and like, my mum has like a lot of deep. My mum has like a lot of deep perceptions on death and stuff. Like, having those type of conversations with her are things that, like, she loves them. because she loves talking about spirituality and these type of things. But
I'll be real with you. I made a lot of prayers for you, and I think a lot of people watching this podcast would have done a lot of prayers for you.
Yeah.
And situations like this make me even believe in God even more than I do now.
Right.
For the simple fact that there's not one man on planet Earth that can explain to me why you had the moment you'd had with Peter and your mum. There's not one man that can justify it. You can try, you can go to the hospital and say all of this stuff just so we can have a way to conclude it.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that I can say, no, we can't discuss this. But you know who one man that can? God. Because I just feel like if you do what's right within life, here's a visual example that it's never easy, but you know what? That's a very blessed way for, you know, your soul to leave planet Earth 100%. In order for you to engage yourself with the angels. And Peter clearly was an angel, and I'm just coming from the world man's coming from. There's a lot of ways to go. Yeah. Where it ain't that beautiful, bro. Where it's, you know, it's not that peaceful. And just to know that he had a sense of peace. Yeah. Like, I feel like, rest in peace is definitely the thing I can say here, because that's what he deserves, purely because of the work he put in being a good person in the household that you were in. And then you're a product of that with your mum and your dad. And then you're going to carry on the good work that he and your mum have started to a certain extent. And then, like, you're going to tell all the stories to your children. Yeah. So that children's going to be doing Peter's work and your mum's work and not know. And I just think that's God, because someone had to start telling you what the work was. Right, for real. So I just think blessings to you and your family, man. What and amazing obviously group of people. My
mum as well, like, she's went through a lot and has gone through a lot and is going through a lot and needs a lot of support. And you know, she's got that obviously through me. As I said, I got a good relationship with her, and I think for her it's like it's difficult her fathoming how the future looks. She can't. I think that's a very hard thing for her to try to deep. We bury him tomorrow. This comes out by the time this happens, but yeah, we bury him tomorrow. And then so, like, you know, he stays with us. He stays with us and all the memories and shit that we created with him or whatever. But you know what, like, sometimes when someone passes away, someone like that, and someone who plays such an important role in your life, I think I could easily see why some people would say it feels like there's a hole, there's a void, there's something that's missing, yeah. But you know what? See, for me, yeah, it's like all this time he was digging this hole, yeah, and he was just filling it with bare love. He's digging it and just filling it with bare love. And now that he's gone, that hole doesn't exist. It's just filled with love. I still feel it, bro. I still feel it. And that, to me, is like some superpower. That feels like a superpower, bro. Honestly. And that's why I feel like now I'm probably able to talk about it a lot better and whatnot. But what a G, bro. What a G, bro. What a man, bro. I swear to you. What a man.
Bro, you're a strong guy, Chuckie, man. Credit to you. God bless you. You're a strong man, bro. Yeah.
2020 was nuts. I remember sometimes I was lying down and saying to myself, fuck, 2019 was so sick. Like, how did we get here? Nah, hold on, wait, one sec. Can't dwell on that. I can't dwell on that. We got time still. We can do some stuff. You know, don't try not to drown in that too much. Address it, talk about it. Of course, chat to your man, chat to your friends about it and stuff like that. But you know what? Like, in these moments, yeah, we got a little piece of time on this world, on this earth, yeah. We got a little piece of time on it, as much as we can. See, like with your kids and stuff like that. And I know that you know this anyway, but having a conversation like this could make people think, shit, man, fuck. You know, this was a conversation I was having with someone that's thinking, I got kids and, like, you know, they're going to have to go through this and maybe with me and whatever. And I said, nah, don't look at it like that. I said, you know what you do? Help create the wickedest memories. Because you know what happened? You see, when Peter died, do you know what we was doing? After the crying, me and my mum sat and laughed. We sat and laughed about all of the things that happened, like with, you know, some of the funny things that he did and some of the funny things that had happened. And, you know, you remember when this happened, and remember when he used to do this, and remember when he used to do that, and remember when we did it. And then we talk about all of these things or whatever, yeah. Those are the most important things. And my mum said to me, she was proper scared that she was only going to remember him in his sickness, yeah? And she was so happy that, like, afterwards, she was quickly able to remember his voice and all of these things. Because it's so, you'd be so surprised at how things become your normal. When, like, this is now, whatever, cool. Someone gets sick, it's sad, yeah? They might lose their voice. For the moment, it's sad, and then after a while, that becomes almost normal. You almost become used to that person not being able to speak anymore. You almost become used to the hospital bed being downstairs. You become used to the stair lift. You become used to all of these different things. Like, you become used to all of them. So sometimes now, once it stops, you think, oh shit, this was so strong, this is what you're gonna remember. Nah, when you live a life, yeah, of purity, yeah, and you know you're out creating memories, whether you're conscious of it or it's a subconscious thing, those things come to the forefront of your brain once you go past it. Believe me when I tell you.
This is what I will say though, because it's difficult for someone to have that perception without one thing. The thing that gives you the perception is the journey. The journey you've taken is very unique, which just allows you to have them moments that you've had at the end of it and for you to reflect.
Yeah.
I think you have that because you value time.
Yeah.
So I agree. Whether we have a lot of time or a little bit of time, I don't know. But the way you invest your time in family, it makes me reconsider how I have to invest my time in family, and then that's how I will have that moment at the end. But some people just think being around family or making time for family gives you that opportunity at the end.
True.
It's not. It's just what you do with it. And going to Big Ben taking a picture is not enough.
Right.
Chuckie, you've proven you're able to sit down in a garden with bare minimal resources and learn how to have a good time with that individual. That means everything else is an added bonus. And when I listened to that story, all I heard was a man that was like, it doesn't matter where I go with PR or with my dad or with my mum or my cousins, we have a good time. We feel strong together. And that's what I would advise people. If you've listened to this story, take it in. Understand it's family, bro. Like, you have to invest good love and into family, man.
And you know what? Also with that as well, man. Like, I appreciate both of you because I've had conversations with both of you about all of this while I was going through it and whatever. And like, even just the conversations of us just being outside of this has been a big help for me, massively. So yeah, man.
Oh, you're a fucking rude boy, bro. You're a strong one, fam. The proper strong cuz.
Love, my bro. Yeah. All right.
My bad, though.
Boom. That's me. What are we doing here now? Are we flipping over? You want to flip over?